In this series, I'm going to be building a model railway out of as many spare parts as I can for as little money as I can. Let's see how I get on. Hello and welcome back to Rule 1 Railways. My name's Nathan and this week we continue yet again with our shuttle layout project. Okay, so last week we put some plaster cloth on this bad boy and it is all nice and dry now, nice and solid, nice and set, ready to rock and roll. You can see here I had a little experiment with the cork to make up the ballast shoulder to lift the track up a little bit to make it look a bit more realistic, and in theory it might run a little quieter too. But once we've got ballast and stuff over it, it won't really make it any quieter. So I'll get the camera down, show you a little bit closer, and then we can carry on and do the cork on this half. And hopefully by the end of this video, we might have a train working. It's going to take some time though, so let's get a closer look. Okay, so here we are then, down at the layout. You can see, tunnel is roughly in place. Very roughly in place. I was just kind of toying and playing around with where I might want things to go, and I'm thinking maybe something like this. It might not be quite this tall. It might, be about this height and then very, very gently increase in height as it goes back. Not quite that steep, but we'll have to see. And obviously we'll need some angled pieces of foam again to go up on this bit here like that. Or I might make this tunnel out of timber instead, so it's a bit more solid, and do something like chicken wire instead. I don't quite know just yet. But you can see I have a temporary piece of track and a demonstration coach up here to show you the embankment and the track bed. So if I zoom in, you can see that the track is nice and high off of the ground surface with a very nice ballast, well, what will be a ballast shoulder, because it's always looked a little bit small when I've done just one layer of this 3mm cork. So I mentioned in the previous video why I was using 2 layers of cork, and if we come here, we just move this temporary track out of the way. I said that I wanted 6mm of cork so I could sand it nice and flat, because you can see the contours are very bumpy over here where the plaster cloth has been. Now I have tried to sand the plaster cloth, but evidently sanding sponges don't do very well at sanding something as hard as this. So it didn't go very well, but I did sand the cork. And if we get in nice and close, this is the reason why I wanted to use more than 3mm of cork. You can see I've almost sanded halfway through this top layer of cork just here. You can see this is the original thickness underneath, and the top surface, the top layer, is sanded almost halfway through. So if I had just used 1 layer of 3mm cork, I might have sanded through the entire thing and there wouldn't be enough height, enough thickness to sand into. Moving along, if I just take this piece of track out, you can see that the reinforcement track bed is in place. So this is those pieces of plywood that I cut off camera last episode. They've been glued and nailed in. You can see there, a nail here and a nail there, either side of the baseboard joint, so that when we come to put the rail aligners in from Model Tech, they have something solid to be track pinned into and they're not going anywhere. Once the track's on, we can cut through the track and cut through these as well with the Dremel, and then both boards will be separate. I also worked out how I wanted to do the bridge. As I said in the last video, I ended up just using a piece of plywood There we go. So it finally focused. You can see there's the plywood underneath and the cork on the top of it. The plywood there being the actual bridge deck and the cork being the track bed, I suppose. And that will be covered with ballast when we get around to doing ballasting. So I got as far as this with the cork, and you can see that it's a little bit lumpy bumpy here as well. Hopefully that's translating on camera. It's a little bit lumpy just here. So we need to continue with the cork all the way down the end. So towards the end of the last video, you may recall, there was a little bit of a height discrepancy down this end. And I glued these pieces in to take up the negative space. They're nice and dry now, and as you can see, there's a little bit of height difference, but that much won't be, that's not a lot. We can probably sand that out if we needed to, or pack it with a little bit of paper or some cardboard, or just ignore it entirely. It's so little that it shouldn't be an issue. So that means that this section is ready to receive cork and hopefully receive some track. Okay, so to do this, it's very easy, as I already have some cork here that I can just butt it up to. This is a 3mm thick roll by, maybe it was 3 meters long, I don't remember, cork from SPD UK. I got this from, was it eBay or was it Amazon? I don't remember. It may have been Amazon, but there you go. SPD UK. And this is a sort of wide, or a pre-sized, I should say, roll for going underneath track. It is the perfect width, as you can see from here, for 00 or HO scale track, which is perfect for our use case. And to get it down, it's really easy. You just kind of glue it, really. It's very simple. It's made a little bit more entertaining by the undulations and stuff in our landform. But because this is cork, it's very flexible. It's very easy to work with. You can see, without even having to glue it down, I've managed to get a decent curve on that. If I bring the camera out a little bit, you'll see. Without even having any pins or any glue, you can see there's a nice curve as the track comes around here like that. I'm going to measure this piece of cork first. I have some T-pins here. Now, again, you can buy T-pins from Woodland Scenics. They are, again, overpriced for what they are. Most model railway specific tools seem to be a little bit overpriced. These are just sewing T-pins, so these are for textiles, doing, you know, sewing and knitting. They're just a T-shaped pin. They are very good at working with foam, which is what Woodland Scenics kind of brand them as. But you can just stab it through all the way to the bottom of the T-shape, and it holds it in place for you, so we can carry on. Because all I'm doing at this point is just measuring how long this piece of cork needs to be. So up to the edge of where the reinforcement timber is. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but the reinforcing timber is just at the edge here, where I'm going to cut the cork off like so. And there we have our first layer of cork. It's very, very easy to do. So now I will lift that pin out. We have our first piece of cork ready to rock and roll. Roll out the next piece, because of course we're doubling the layers up to get the correct height. And I'm laying the first piece of cork we cut over the top of the second, so we can measure it straight away, nice and easy. and cut it off at there. And that's it. And then we have this much cork left. Now we have our pieces of cork to play with. So we will do one layer of cork first and then put the other one on the top. And that should, yes, that's nice. It doesn't translate very good on the camera, but that curve is very subtle, very gentle, and very nice. That's very good. I like it. I'm going to put the glue straight on top of the cork, as opposed to putting it on the plaster bandage, just because I can't see all the measurements that I made, all the lines I drew rather, to show where the track bed has to go. Rather than get glue everywhere, I'll put it straight on the cork. Like that. Carefully flip it over. Start at one end. Kind of just lay it down, because this glue is quite tacky, so it will mostly stay in place. And then we can use our T-pins, oops, like so, to hold it in place just while we squish it down. So I'll put another one at the other end. You may not be able to see it, but trust me, I'm doing it. There we go. And press it down so it bonds nicely with the surface. Now, you could wait for this one to dry and then do the second one, but we're not going to, because we might as well glue them both at the same time. Then we only have to wait for stuff to dry once. Now, obviously, we're going to have to take our T-pin out at both ends. And then, quite simply, lay it all on the top. Like that. Get it laid down. And then the T-pin goes back where it was at the end there. Now we can put another couple in as we go along. Okay, so this end might be a little bit more tricky because it's kind of in the dark a bit. But that shouldn't be a problem. We have our spare piece of cork and we have some little scrappy offcuts as well. The first thing we need to do is we need to put our reinforcement pieces down like that, nice and easy. Now I'm just going to slap some glue down, and then I'll turn the camera off and I'll stick a couple of nails through it. The glue will be doing most of the holding work, but I like to stick a nail through it as well, just to make sure that it's reinforced properly and that it's not going to go anywhere. Again, you can do a different method if you don't want to put nails through it, if you can't. There you go. Just, whoops, like that. Now I'm going to have to move the camera to put these nails in because the camera is in the way. So I'll come back once the nails are in. Okay, as you can see, the nails are in. One of them went wrong, you can see there. I had to pull one out, it went a bit wonky. There's not a lot of room to swing a hammer under here. It's quite a tight space. There's not much room to swing a hammer into solid, into this solid pine stuff, but it's in there now. So now we just have to wait for the glue to dry on the old cork here. I'm probably going to put some heavy things on it. I've got a couple of bits and pieces I can put on it. I'll put the spirit level on there, and then bottle of glue in the middle. It's a bit tippy over because of the T-pins, but hopefully it will be enough, and things will be dry pretty quickly. So I'll put that bottle there. Okay, so I've got the locos out for this particular layout. I have also cut the boards here. I've cut the joint into the plywood reinforcement pieces. That went very smoothly. So now I'm just going to grab some track. The soldering iron is warming up, so we can get on and lay the track. So I'm just going to lay the piece of track here, like that. Make sure it's as straight as it can be. There we are. Now I've got the rolling stock out because we still need to make a mark on the track in the correct place to put the track brakes. So here's the piece of track I've just put in place. We need to mark it with a pencil or a pen. Which do I have to hand? A pen, fair enough. There's the pen. We need to make sure that we put the track brakes in the correct place. So now is as good a time as any to show you what motive power and rolling stock will be operating on this layout. We have an old school-ish Hornby Railroad Plus 14XX tank engine. And it will be accompanied by this Bachmann branch line auto trailer. This one happens to be in British Rail Crimson. God, that's a tight fit in there. Good grief. Cool. Blimey O'Reilly. And there it is. One Great Western Railway origin auto trailer fitted for push-pull. So, goes there. The tank engine goes there. Okay, so it looks like we just need to put a track brake in somewhere after the tunnel, really. That seems to be very simple. Of course, we'll put a stop down the end so it doesn't fall off. I'm going to put the track brakes in the back, on the back rail over here, which will be the black side. So I will put it, I guess I'll just put it kind of there, really. And hopefully that's also in the right place for our... Oh, well, that's not level, is it? And hopefully that's in the same correct place for our second item of rolling stock that will operate on this layout. This Bachmann branch line, British Railways green liveried class 121 diesel railcar. There it is. It's very, very lovely, this little thing, I have to say. Hopefully that'll be in a good enough place for this one as well. It should be fine. Yeah. So it will probably stop about there somewhere, which is in the tunnel enough. Because don't forget, we'll have the tunnel mouth will be about here somewhere, and it'll be built up and you won't even see it. But of course we need to get the track down and the track cut and fixed into place before we do the hills. We also need to wire it before we do the hills as well. I don't know whether I'll be doing the wiring today or not, but we can at least get this first section of track laid and fitted, soldered, and all of the necessary joints cut and prepared. Okay, so we have our piece of track down, we have our mark on it. Let's get in a bit closer. Not quite that close. There is the mark here. Have our Dremel tool, so now we just need to cut this one rail to make our isolation gaps for the shuttle control unit. And we'll take a look at the instructions and wiring for that in a little bit. Let's get cutting. That was very easy. The benefit of a good tool. Right, now that that has been cut, I hope you can see that. Now it's been cut, we need to stop this joint from ever closing up again. So we need nylon rail joiner on it, because if the weather ever gets hotter than it currently is right now, the track could expand due to the heat, and the gap in the rail that we've just cut could theoretically close itself up, and then the shuttle control system would not work. So this will be very hard to film. So what I will do, I'll just zoom the camera all the way out and talk you through it while I try and do it. It's essentially what I need to do is get this rail joiner in this track brake here. And I also need to finagle the rail out so that I can actually get it in there. So if I pull it, oh yeah, there we go, that's opened the gap up nice and big. And I'll also do the same here. There. Now I need to cut the rail chairs off of this sleepers here, off of these sleepers. I don't know how many, but I might as well do all of them. Now this I don't think I'll be able to film because it's tight enough as it is. What I should have done was took the layout downstairs and done it downstairs really, but we're here now, so. Right, let's start with this rail chair. So I'm cutting the rail chairs off to make room for the track joiner, basically. For the nylon track joiner that needs to go in this position. So we should only need 2 chairs removed. Can you see this? Sort of. We should only need 2 of these chairs removed, so I will do 2. Like that. And then where did the joiner go? Whoop! I had it then, there it is. They're difficult to see. They're almost entirely see-through. So, I do need to remove another chair. I need to remove this one here. Now, this would be easier if you just laid the track and cut the rail and then just left it. But as I say, I'm very conscious about potential temperature changes in the track itself. And I would much rather deal with reliability than deal with constant breakdowns and issues due to rail expansion. And I'm doing this very cack-handed because otherwise I can't see what I am doing. I can barely see what I'm doing at all. There we go. Oh, there we go. Okay, we got one end in. Whether you'll see that or not. Just here, we got one end in. I don't know if the camera's focusing on that, probably not. So, now I just need to slide the other rail back up. Now this is going to be tricky to film and probably won't come out very well at all. Okay, there we go. Oh, brilliant. Spectacular. That went in very, very nicely. Okay, there it is. There we go. If the camera's going to focus. It might not. Somewhere like that, you can see hopefully there. So now we need to get this track back in place and hopefully everything will be tickety-boo. Okay, I'll be honest, I've no idea what you can see. Oh, you can see some stuff, good. So, now, very simple. We're going to glue this piece of track into place. How easy? Hopefully. I'm going to do a nice big glob down the middle. Now I don't quite remember where this ends, so I'll just lay it on the side like so. And I'm probably off camera doing this now. Oh. Right, I needed something to spread it with. I had a piece of cork to hand, there we go. And now you're just going to spread the glue. So this is just the same wood glue that we've been using for this entire thing. Nothing special at all. I'm going to spread it out as best we can. And now we lay the track on top of the glue, unsurprisingly. There we go. Got our track brake just here. Try and make it reasonably straight. Doesn't have to be perfect because you're not really going to see it, although that's not bad actually. And again, with our little T-pins, we'll use the slightly thinner ones this time. And away we go. Now, I'm not going to push these pins in too hard. The glue should be goopy enough to hold the track at the correct sort of height, really. The T-pins are just here to ensure that it can't get knocked and move around on accident, basically. There we go. Now, of course, if you had done this on a plywood track bed, I'm leaning in front of the camera now. If you'd done this on a plywood track bed, then you could just use straight track pins normally, and everything would still work out fine. So, gonna get nice and low and inspect that rail brake. Yeah, I'm actually gonna put a pin just here. So I noticed that it's slightly lifted up, which might have been my rather ham-handed manhandling of the track joint. Yeah, that's better. And a way to test to see if it is nice and flat on that track joint is to roll a coach through it, obviously. So here we have our auto trailer, and you don't even know it's there. Wonderful, look at that. Glorious. Shuttle system. Speaking of the shuttle system, here it is, just here, this tiny little piece of circuitry here. It is absolutely minute, but it can do a lot. We have a speed control, and we have a timer control. We have power in, and we have track outputs here. But now, we have to lay this piece of track in this gap here, which you can't see. Oop. This gap here. Right. Let's move this camera again. Okie diddly dokie then. So, we are over here, where we need to be. Get this glue out the way for a moment. So you can see I've got the soldering iron on. I'll just carefully move that out of the way for the moment. We don't need it just yet. So now we need to lay this piece of track over here, which not only needs to join with our previous piece of track, just here, needs to join our previous piece of track we laid just now, here, but it also needs to go across the baseboard joint, here. Now, I've spoken multiple times in this series so far about the ProTrack rail aligners, and here they are. At last, I get to show you. So these are basically PCB, you can see for code 100 track. You can actually get this for different rail profiles. This is the code 100 one, or set, sorry. So these are PCB, as I said. They have, you can see, shiny metal surface on them, and the shiny metal bit is what you solder the rails to. So, as you can see, they fit together a little bit like a puzzle piece, like so, in exactly the same place every single time, thanks to the puzzle piece kind of endy bits just here, where they are cut at an angle, so no matter how out of line they might be, they still fit together the same every single time. And they have small nail holes in the centre of the sleepers, if I can get this in actual camera shot. Is that focusing? I think so. So you can see there's the 3 nail holes in the centre, and I think these 2 here are for adding power wires to it if you want to. We won't be doing that. Hold the sleepers roughly in the centre of our baseboard joint here, and then just make a little scratch mark at the end of them, just so we can see how many sleepers we need to remove. So as you can see, we've got 3 sleepers on each half of the rail aligners. So we need to count back 3 sleepers, not including the middle one. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go back to the 4th sleeper to cut the webbing, so it's nice and neat. And then 3 sleepers from the left, not including the middle one. 1, 2, 3. And then the same again on the 4th sleeper. Cut the webbing, flush, like so. Now we can just tear the sleepers out. And oh, you can't see that. Come on, there we go, just like that. So now we can get this track as straight as we can, lay it down, lay it over the joint, and a little something, whoops, like that. Now it will be a little bit tricky until we get glue and track pins and stuff in, but essentially, as the wind blows outside, 19 to the dozen, that is basically how the joint will look. Quite neat, I hope you all agree. Now obviously it'll look a little bit better once it's been ballasted and weathered. You won't see the difference in the sleeper sizes, or the position or whatever else. And the gap between the sleepers, I'm kind of just going to ignore, really. I can slide the sleepers up from this end a little bit if I really need to. I'm now going to actually lift the track away, and using my pliers, I'm then going to stick track pins through the rail aligners, which will hopefully keep them in place. So I'm going to, like that. Now that did move a tiny bit, but it wasn't much. Stick a track pin through there. Do my best to push it as far down as I can. I might be able to get it all the way down. Oh, goodness me. No, I can't get that all the way down. It went through the plywood nicely, and then it hit the timber block underneath and wouldn't go any further. I'll have to tap that in with a hammer, and then I'll do the same here. Now fortunately we've got one in place, so making sure that it's in a straight line, and just push this loose one into it. Hopefully now you can see the action of the rail aligners. Even if they're slightly askew, they always fall back in line. So again, making sure that the rightmost one is as straight as I can get it. Track pin through the hole, without knocking the soldering iron off preferably. And down we go. Now before I hammer those in, I'm going to get 2 more track pins. Oop, come here. And put a second one on either side. Just needed proper grip, that's all. Oof, there we go. Now, there are 3 holes in there, and I'm tempted to fill all 3, but I don't know that I'll need to, but I will anyway. That's in there, nice and solid. So now, track joiners here, lay this piece of track, solder it, and then I'm going to go and have a break, because I'm very warm. Righty-ho, I stuck a T-pin just here to push the rails onto the rail aligners there. I've got the soldering iron ready, so I'm just going to put a little bit of flux on the rails and on the PCB bits itself. Going to try and avoid putting well, I'm going to avoid, sorry, putting flux on the inside of the rail and solder, because of course that's where the wheel flanges go, and you don't want the wheel flanges to foul any solder blobs that you've put on the track. So I'm just using a T-pin here with some flux on the end of it. You probably can't see that, but it's there. And I'm just dabbing it like that on the PCB chairs and up to the rail like so. Like that. Okay, so now I've got some solder on the end of the iron here. It's not a very good soldering iron. I'd really like to get my own one back. This is going to be difficult to film. I might have to do it slightly cack-handed so you can see initially. So I'm going to be doing this one here, and hopefully you'll see the solder flow into the joints. Yeah, something like that. I think that's working. I can't actually tell because the lighting up here is not very good. But that is my fault. You just let the flux do most of the work for you in introducing molten solder into the joint. That was a good one. There you go. That was a good one. The benefit of using flux is that it, well, as you can see, it allows the solder to flow quite nicely into the joint. This soldering iron is not very good. I can assure you that my soldering skills are pretty damn good. I'm very aware that a bad workman blames his tools, but in this instance I think it really is the tool. That looked like a good one as well. So hopefully you can see there that the rails are securely soldered to the aligners. So now I just need to do the other side, but I'm not going to do it with the camera there because it's too tricky. I need to be able to reach properly. Okay, so that is, whoops, both sides of these things soldered in. You can see I wiggle the rail, it's not going anywhere. It's nice and solid. Okay, totally wonky camera angle. You can tell the floor up here is amazing. So I have continued to lay track. I've done that bit right down the end there, and I've also soldered all of the necessary board joint sections. I did this bit behind me earlier on, as you saw, and I have just sort of finished laying that end of it, and I'm testing with the battery at the moment. I don't have the little unit set up. That will be coming up in, well, probably the next clip that you watch, actually. I'm yet to cut the rails on the joints. I did try, but it's so hard to film, get the camera in there and get the Dremel in there as well, so I won't be able to film that. To end up this little section of video, I'm going to put a battery on the track down that end, and a train will run along behind me down to that end and stop. Here it comes. A little something like that. That was really fun. I've been doing this for about half an hour now, and it's really good fun. to actually have something moving on here. So, apart from wiring, there's not much of this video left. So, I'm going to bed now because it's quite late. So I'll be doing all of the wiring and cutting the track and stuff tomorrow. So, I don't know, here's a fancy tomorrow jump cut. Here's a fancy one. Whoa! What was that? Sound like Casper. Whoa!